Thank you, Lois. My talk today is called The Search for God, or In Search of God, or something that I called it. I don't know. But anyway, is it up there? It is up there, so In Search of God. So I wanted to just, it's something we're all doing, and we don't sometimes get explicit about it or really pay attention to it. So because I'm a Bible and dictionary guy, as you all know, I like looking up stuff. So the word search means to look thoroughly in an effort to discover something. So the search involves looking thoroughly, not just casually looking every now and then. It involves kind of an in-depth search. And it also, interestingly enough, in the dictionary, this one surprised me. The second definition is to explore by inspecting possible places of concealment. Isn't that an interesting definition? That we're looking for places where God might be unexpectedly concealed. So I think that's an important aspect. So I want to talk about a little bit about my take on Unity's perspective on this search. And this is what has occurred to me. You might have different conclusions in this if you study the same things I've studied, the Fillmore's writings and their lives and things. You might reach different conclusions. But here's some things that I've come to. Most of the time that we talk about the metaphysics of the Bible, or of Yeshua, Jesus' life, we're quoting Charles, most of the time, not Myrtle. And Charles was definitely a metaphysician, and he writes a lot about that. He writes a lot about the metaphysical understanding of biblical principles, about how there are universal teachings contained in there, and so on. And as you all know, because Wanda has done wonderful talks on this, meta is two Greek words, meta meaning beyond, physical meaning physical. So metaphysical is anything that's beyond the physical, which, of course, God is. So we talk about a lot of that aspect here in Unity. And frankly, that's one of the things I like about this church. I don't know about you, but I like that because many churches I've been to over the course of my life, everything they take out of the Bible they think is literal. Even though in the Bible it says, like in the letters of Paul, you realize Scripture's allegorical, right? Paul actually wrote that in the New Testament. And yet we still have people thinking it's all literal. So the metaphysical approach largely consists of reasoning things out and comparing things and trying to understand what the symbolism in this particular text is all about and how that symbolism applies in a larger context in that particular setting in the Bible story. And then, more importantly probably, how that may apply in our life. How can we work with that principle? So that's kind of the metaphysical exploration process, which is wonderful. It looks to me like Myrtle took a different approach than that. Not that she didn't believe all that, but that wasn't primarily what she wrote about or did. So I want to kind of talk about my take on Myrtle's approach to this, which I find interesting. She didn't so much seem to write about and try to figure out the metaphysical meanings as she did try to experience God. And that's different. It doesn't involve the mind so much. It involves the heart more. So I want to give you a couple of summations of things, and then I think how we can maybe work with some of this. So unlike Charles's very structured metaphysical analytical approach, here's things that Myrtle emphasized in her life and in her writings. The first one was quiet receptivity. Quiet receptivity is not trying to figure things out. It is quiet receptivity, paying attention. I have tried for years to figure you people out. I have tried for years to figure me out. And I haven't got very far with any of that. But if I pay attention to you, I can see what matters. And if I pay attention to what's going on in me, I can see if I try to figure it all out, sometimes it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The other thing she emphasized is the importance of trusting in divine life unfolding. So it would be nice, at least I think it would be nice, if God would come to me this afternoon and say, Stephen, here's the plan for the next 10 years of your life. Here's what's going to be happening. Here's how it's going to work. Here's what I want you to do. And here's all the resources you need to do it. That clear? Okay, we're good. That would be great. That has not once ever happened to me. What typically happens is I kind of just make my way through things and watch what works and what doesn't, and then I do what does and try to let go of what doesn't. And every now and then, I actually feel like, oh, this is what God is asking of me. And then what I want to say is, so how do you want me to do it, and where are the resources? And I never get, hardly ever, get answers to that. The answer I get is, go do it. And I go, I don't know how. And God says, that's the point. Go do it. That's where you learn how to do it. Another aspect of that is that Myrtle worked a lot, and some of these words are hers and some are most are my paraphrases, with what she looked at as gentle affirmations rather than mental force. She wasn't trying to force anything, even her own healing. She was just gently affirming the reality of that over and over again. And from what I can tell of her perspective, and this is the critical part I want to kind of talk about today, the search for God is not primarily analytical. It is primarily relational. We learn God through relationship. And if you look at just your life, just the reality of your life, what does it consist of? What has it consisted of for your entire life? From the time you were a little Anu, for those of you who saw Anu up here, from the time you were his age to now, do you know what your life has consisted of? What you've been surrounded with? What you've been involved in? Relationships. Relationships with your mom, with your dad, with your siblings if you had any, with your school peers, with your neighbors, with your friends, with the people you didn't like, with church groups, with other groups, with people you work with people who you employ, with people you were employed by. Your whole life has consisted of relating to things. You also relate to your pets, if you have any. You relate to nature, somehow. You don't like the cold, so you withdraw and stay inside. You like the summer, so you go out then. Or you don't like the heat, so you love this weather, and you don't like the summer weather. You relate to things. How do we learn about each other? How do we do that? If you know anything about Wanda, it's because you have been in relationship with Wanda. If I just tell you, there are people I've told about Wanda who aren't members of this church. And I tell her about her, and I tell them about her, and I suggest that they watch her on YouTube or that they come to services and whatnot. Mostly that hasn't happened, but I tell them about her. And do you know what? Do you know what they know about her? Absolutely nothing. They only know what I've said. That's not knowing her at all. Some of you, because he's around a lot and he's up here sometimes, Michael, most of you know he's a musician. Some of you have heard him and know what kind of musician he is. Others, all you know is, oh, he's a musician. And if I say to you, what does he play? You go, I don't know. What kind of music does he like? Beats me. What's he good at? All of it, some of it, I don't know. We learn by being in relationship with something. That's how we learn. When I was a kid, my dad was a mechanical guy. He could build, fix, mend, repair anything. I was fascinated by that stuff. He also ended up being an engineer. But when I was pretty young, I remember he had a radio back in those days, and he had the radio, and it was all torn apart on our kitchen table. And I said, what are you doing? He said, well, it's not working. I said, oh, how do you fix it? And he said, I have no idea. And I said, well, why don't you just get another one? And he said, because I can probably fix this one. And I said, you just said you don't know how. And he said, that's why I tore it apart. I'm going to figure it out. And you know what? The radio worked when he was done. He figured it out. And the idea of, I'm trying to get with that story is, he didn't look at the radio and go, oh, I don't get it. I'll trash that one and get a different one. Or I'll just be mad that it doesn't work. What he said was, to figure this out, I need to understand it. I need to come into relationship with this thing. I need to get my hands on it. And that's how he understood it. That's how we understand life too. We get our hands on it. And we live it. We engage it. We don't hide from it. We don't run away from it. We don't develop our spiritual philosophies as a way, as an excuse not to deal with life. Our spiritual teachings, if they're of any value, are helping us to deal with life. If you're using them to avoid it, you're missing the point. So she believed in what she wrote and what she did, that we learn through relationship. And so here's a few things that Myrtle did and talked about as a way of searching for God, as a way of coming to know God, outside the metaphysical stuff. She did that too, but that was more Charles's focus. Myrtle's approach, from what I can see, was practice relaxing into the divine presence. All the time. Wanda frequently, when she says prayers or speaks, she uses the phrase, the abiding spirit, which is one of my favorite phrases, by the way. I love that. That's another way of talking about the divine presence. Relaxing into that. Trusting in God's willingness to cooperate with you, as opposed to thinking of God as uncaring or distant, or you somehow have to appease God, or you have to somehow get in God's good graces before God will cooperate with you. Trust that God already wants to cooperate with you. And then cooperate with God back. Be in relationship. So, so Lois played a song up here, and Cindy's played songs up here. So if I were to bring my guitar or bass up here, and we were all three to play together, and my instrument was out of tune, and theirs weren't, and I was playing it right. I mean, you could, ask a musician, I'm playing the right notes, I'm playing them in the right rhythm, I'm playing it right, and it sounds bad. And I'm going, I'm playing this right. Oh, yeah, but it sounds terrible. No, it doesn't. I'm playing it right, look. And I am playing it right, but I'm playing it out of tune. It doesn't fit. So when that happens, now three of us are playing, I'm out of tune, we're all playing the same thing. They're playing it right too, but in tune. I'm playing it right, but out of tune. I can go through the whole song complaining about, we sound terrible. What is wrong with us? Because it isn't me. Are you getting the point? and they should do something to make this sound better. But the problem is, I need to tune my instrument. And then everything I do will sound better. And if I don't make that adjustment, I can get angry about the fact, every time we play together, it sounds awful. I'm not going to play together with these guys anymore. So I pick a different group of people to play with. And it still sounds terrible, because I'm still out of tune. And I go, you know what, these people are no good either. I'm going to pick a different group of people, because then I'll sound good. And I still don't sound good. What is wrong with all these groups I joined? Nothing. So we need to tune the instrument. That's cooperation. The spirit of the song is, it's supposed to be played in this rhythm with these notes in this sequence, in tune together. The spirit of life is, it's supposed to be played with your instrument, which is this, mind, body, and heart. It's supposed to be played with this in a certain order. There's a certain timing to your life. And it's supposed to be played in relationship with others, like a big band. And to have that sound good, all of us need to take care of our own instrument and stop blaming the bad sound on all the other performers when we haven't even looked at, oh my God, I'm not in tune. So, and if I'm out of tune, let's say Michael brings his guitar too. Now we got to force him up here. Or he brings a bass or whatever he brings. And he's not tuned up yet. And I say, oh, let me help you. And I tune him to me. You know what happens? You got two players out of tune now. You follow me? So if we try to align ourselves, align our thinking, align our speech, align our belief patterns, align our behavior with that which is out of tune, we can successfully align with that, and we will still be out of tune, and our life will still sound terrible. You have to align with what's true, the true pitch that you want to align to, and that is the Spirit of God in you. And when we're not aligned to that, we are out of tune. And nothing we play will sound quite right. And if we are in tune with that, even if we're not a very good player yet, we'll sound better because we're in tune. Some of you have learned instruments, and generally speaking, in the beginning, it doesn't sound great, and it's not easy. And it hardly feels natural to do almost anything on the new instrument you're learning. But later it does. I had a really good friend of mine plays sax, and he's played sax for a long time. He's a great saxist. And he was telling me when he first took lessons that his guitar teacher came to his, or his sax teacher came to his home in those days and met with his parents, and the teacher said to his parents, I want you to understand something if you're going to pay for his lessons. The first 2 years while he's practicing his instrument, it's going to sound like he's strangling a cow back there. So, and it pretty much did. But you know, he's a fantastic player. So we understand that if we want to learn piano we've never played before, or we want to learn guitar we've never played before, it's going to take, there's going to be a learning curve. And yet, when we come into spiritual pursuits, we expect to be good at it right away and to not make any effort. It should just be easy. Well, it isn't. You need to make effort. You need to study, you need to meditate, you need to pray, you need to do all the things we talk about all the time. So anyway, so I'm going to kind of sum up. This is very audacious. And again, maybe you'll have a different conclusion if you study Myrtle, but here's my summation of Myrtle's approach to the search for God. Don't search for God. Feel your life and pay attention. Because that's how God's communicating with you. You will discover God by awakening the trust of spirit that is in your heart. Amen. Begin to trust that and follow that. And if you go back to Yeshua's teachings and you go back to the Bible, what's the Bible really about? It's about God, it's about love, it's about all those things. How does the Bible present the nature of God? How does the Bible present your nature? How does the Bible present how we're to live? It presents it by presenting relationships. The relationship between Abram and Sarah, the relationship between Abram and God, the relationship between Adam and Eve, the relationship between Adam and Eve and the creatures in the garden, the relationship between the snake and Eve, the relationship between Yeshua and his apostles, between Yeshua and the priesthood, between Yeshua and the Romans, between the prophets and the people they were dealing with. What does the Bible consist of? Story after story after story after story of relationships. These relationships are really out of whack, and they're causing you suffering. These relationships really work. Pay attention to what's the difference. And so I think Myrtle's approach was a relational approach, that I'm going to discover who God is by engaging in relationship with God. Not just when I'm teaching at Unity Church, not just when we're holding a silent Unity vigil, not just when I'm reading and studying the Bible and we're looking at all the metaphysical aspects. Then too, but not just then. when I have nothing to do with the Unity organization or the church, and I'm out there somewhere in a grocery store in a long checkout line? Where's God then? When I'm talking to somebody and they have a completely different political and cultural viewpoint than I do, and they're really irritated that mine doesn't match theirs, where's God there? Do I forget about it? Do I amp up my own anger and defense and try to force people to think of things my way and go, wow, how could you possibly think of that? That's a terrible thing. You're a terrible person. You're the problem. If we just get rid of you, everything would be better. I know that sounds stupid, but you know what? There's a lot of people thinking that out there right now about one group or another. You know who else thought that? Adolf Hitler. You just get rid of those stupid Jews, the world's going to be fine. 6 million of them later, it wasn't fine. That thinking leads us in a direction we don't want to go. No matter what side of an issue you're on, the other side is a human being with people who care about them that they care about. We learn about God through relationships, including difficult ones. Because you haven't all had an easy life, and things haven't always gone your way. At least I don't think so. They haven't mine. So the idea of feeling the Spirit of God in your life, as opposed to trying to understand, just using that approach of just trying to understand. Now, mind you, I love, and most of you know I teach classes and stuff. I love understanding things, and I love metaphysical discussion. I love metaphysical analysis. I love Bible study. I love all that stuff. Don't misunderstand. That stuff is all really useful. All I'm saying is that there's another aspect to our search, and that is to step back a little bit from the mind and start opening the heart more. So, just as a quick example, we teach that Jesus was talking about love, and the essence of God is love. So when I say love, what pops into your awareness first? Brain, intellect, mind, or heart? What do you associate most with that? Yeah. So here's an experiment. Just for a moment, take just a casual look around. I mean, literally, just look at people. Look at who's here. You can smile if you want. You can whatever you want to do. But just kind of take a quick peek at people. All right. So here comes the experiment part. It's going to have a couple different parts. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and keep them closed for a moment. And in a moment, I'm going to have you open them and look at each other again. And for those of you who aren't comfortable looking at one another, too bad. Try it anyway. This church is not here to cater to your comfort zones. It's here to cater to your soul, which doesn't have a limited comfort zone. Okay, so with your eyes closed, here's what I want you to bring into your awareness just for a moment. Just sit with it just for a moment. Every single person here that in a moment you're going to open your eyes and look at, every single person here has lost someone or something precious to them in their life. Every one. And every one of them is struggling with something you don't even know they're struggling with. So take a look for a moment. Open your eyes. That's who's here. So with that awareness, can you be a little more patient? Close your eyes one more time. And we're just going to let go of that. And what I'd like you to bring into your awareness is this, that every being here in this room today is another soul, another child of God. And that everyone here, whether you know them or not, whether you like them or not, every single soul here that you're about to look at again, every one of them is teaching you something about love. Every one of them. So one last time, take a look at one another. They're here to teach you about love. So knowing that, are you willing to pay enough attention to them to see what they have to tell you? So close your eyes the last time. And this is a myrtle practice. Just relax into the presence that is within us and among us. Just feel that. Don't think it. Don't try to analyze it. Don't try to understand it. Not in this moment. In this moment, just open your heart and feel the reality of the divine presence as it is around you in this community and as it is within your own heart. And that presence at its core is the very essence of what love is. That's what we are here to learn and to share and to open our experience in our life to. So just trust in that presence for a moment. And accustom yourself to being in the divine presence. And when you're in the divine presence, there's a few things you're going to discover. One is you're going to be willing to forgive much more easily than when you're not focused on that presence. You're going to be grateful for so many more things. You're going to be comfortable admitting what you don't know and when you're wrong. You're going to be willing to take the initiative to apologize for what you've hurt. You're going to spend a lot of time in awe of the incredible majesty and depth and height and breadth of the life God has given you. You're going to start seeing a bigger picture than the one that's completely centered on your comfort. You're going to be wanting to give your attention to the other souls that you encounter, even that of animals. You're going to find it easier to trust what's unfolding in your life even when you're not so sure about it. You're going to enjoy taking time to stop and just be quiet. And you are going to make the people that you love in your life a priority over every other thing. In Philippians 4, we read, "And finally, my brothers and sisters, I want to say this. Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence and anything worthy of praise, spend your time thinking about these things." And then in Jeremiah 29, there is a promise spoken through the prophet Jeremiah by God to those present with him and to us who have come after them. And the Lord said, "You will seek me, and you will find me, when you search for me with all your heart." That's the search for God. Understanding is secondary to relationship. Put relationship first, and understanding will unfold. Thank you all. Let's just take a brief moment of silence in whatever opens up in your awareness in this silent moment. Just be present and relax into that abiding spirit. Nothing needs to happen. Something might be revealed. But this quiet attentiveness is how you build the inner relationship with the divine that's in you. May God bless you and keep you, and shine his face upon you, and grant you peace. Amen. Thank you.